Apple, the White House, regulations, and fines. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by Insta360 and their new Insta360 X5 flagship camera. Visit store.insta360.com and use the promo code MacVoices to get a free invisible 114cm selfie stick worth $24.99 with a standard package purchase. Limit first 30 standard package purchases only. MacVoices is supported by MacPaw, the makers of Clean My Mac, your ultimate solution for Mac control and care. Try Clean My Mac for 7 days free, then use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. And this is MacVoices Live. It's Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Whatever time that is, wherever you are, we are at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, and we would love to have you join us. We have a few friends in there now, hoping for more as we go along. I'm hoping that I can stay online because there's a big line of thunderstorms headed my way, but I've set this up so that hopefully if anything happens here and I lose power, the show will go on with the rest of them, and God knows what will happen at that point. So with that, let's find out who will be here and potentially hosting or co-hosting if something happens to me. Top right, top left of my screen, I don't know my right from my left. Top left of my screen, David Ginsburg. David, good to see you.
Good to be here, Chuck. I'm braving those storms for you. Our temperature dropped about 20 degrees. It was about close to 80, and then the winds have been whipping around, so we've had our share of stuff here, too.
Yeah, they're saying potential for pea-sized hail, which is about as big a hail as I want to see.
Yes.
So, Marty Jencius is here as well.
Hey.
Marty, you apparently got the storm, or at least a storm earlier, so mine might be yours.
Yeah, we got no pea-sized hail. We just got lots of wind and, some brief rain. My dog went nuts. So, that's about it.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Yeah, some of the storms we've been seeing, the photos on the news are just amazing. Not in a good way. So,
Yeah.
Webb Bixby has made it back. Webb, it's good to see you. We've missed you for a couple weeks here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What do they call it? Critical affairs of state kept me away, but I'm back. So,
okay. Should I ask which state or just leave it alone?
No,
State
just
State of confusion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, why does the Department of Interior deal with everything on the outside? Never mind.
Yeah. Huh. That could be a show title right there. Eric Bolden has joined us again with yet another plant.
Magnolia.
Yes. Yeah.
Magnolia. Oh, is that a magnolia? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I guess I'm just not used to seeing it. Maybe not fully open.
It's not fully. Yeah, it's getting there.
It's a magnolia tree, though. It's not one of the big platter magnolias we used to get in South Carolina. Yeah.
So, but this tree always seems to open right before there's big, huge storms, and it was 80 degrees, really humid. I spent half the night with a fan trying to keep the chicks cooled off enough so they didn't overheat. Yeah, long evening. But
Eric's using that 60s slang, keeping the chicks cooled off.
Yeah, that's where my mind was going, Marty, and I thought, I don't know if I want to pursue this or not.
No, the feathers are a lot longer, so that, they don't need quite as much heat. So I had to crank the heat up a little higher, get them off.
Okay,
drops 5 degrees every week.
That's why I like working with Eric. You see these slow pitches right over the center of the plate.
Yeah, If only Jeff were here. It'll at least
trying to set it up. I don't know.
I have a little restraint. Of course, he has none. So look out. You never know what's coming. Well, we're going to start off this evening with a story by Uncle Marty, who asked us to gather around the campfire, and he has a story for us. Marty, take
Well,
it
let
away.
me tell you the story of my magical Apple Watch. I was feeling pretty lousy on Sunday, and but I still managed to produce 2 podcasts. Figure that one. But I was getting warnings on my Apple Watch that I was having irregular heartbeat, potentially AFib.
Ooh.
And I did what all good, healthy males my age or unhealthy males my age do, which is to ignore it. But I did take and checked my heart rate throughout the day and figured I just need some sleep, or I didn't get good sleep. I just need to lay down. And I did that a couple of times to no effect. And instead, I finally got to bed and woke up the next day and felt all right. And then I made the biggest mistake of my life, which was I told my wife, and she insisted you need to get to a doctor. And
Smart woman.
I didn't want to tell my wife because I'm doing this accreditation visit and I can't get out of it. So I called the doctor and the doctor said, well, we can see you at 6:00. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know doctors worked at 6:00. And I went in and told him what my symptoms were, took out my iPhone, went to my health app, and sure enough, all of that had been carried over. And I had probably 50, the phone and the watch did about 50 checks on my heart rate. And he could just look at it over a period of an hour and see maybe 10 or 12 of them. And he said, yep, you had AFib. And so now, he's the other thing that was amazed me was, you don't know how doctors are going to take to these devices. Some doctors are like, no, we got to do it this way, blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, he ran a strip on me and everything. I didn't have any indication of it then. But he said, these things are great. One of the things that the Apple Watch gets done and gets done well is AFib. He said like 98% of the time, completely accurate with it.
Wow.
And so it was very encouraging to hear that. My wife had to sit in the room and hear that, which was satisfying for me. The person, the technician he had working with him used to work with a cardiologist. And she said, I worked with a cardiologist and the cardiologist insisted people needed to get Apple Watches just for this purpose. So I was really shocked when I opened up my health app because the thing hadn't transferred over. But when I opened it up in my doctor's office, I could look at the whole day on Sunday and see the fluctuations in my heart rate. And he had that as data. And now he's given me one of those little buttons that I get to wear for 2 weeks. And the cool thing about the button is that if I start to feel symptomatic, I can push it and it's registering me for 24/7. But if I push a little button, if I'm feeling dizzy or feeling like I'm having an incident, I can push the button, it'll record it. But the cool part is I'm like charging people 25 cents a piece to push the button. So I can get all sorts of false positives and earn a little cash on the side.
Always.
I had this vision of Marty walking around with a T-shirt that says "Push my button, 25 cents."
There goes the hand palm.
Yeah. I got Eric already.
The button would be a little lower if I really had a T-shirt to say that.
I don't want to know.
I didn't know your heart was down there.
Well, first of all, I'm so glad you're okay. That's the most important thing. And please don't ignore those warnings. That doesn't set a good example for the rest of the world.
Yeah, well, Chuck, you don't, when you're dead, you don't know you're dead. The people around you know you're dead. It affects them. It's sort of like when you're stupid, you don't know you're stupid, but the people around you do. So it's, don't worry about dying. Worry about being stupid.
Okay. I got nothing. I can't top that. Maybe I can. Maybe I can top it by saying that Jim Rea has joined us. He's been a wandering minstrel for the last few weeks, and he's back. Jim, good to see
And
you.
right
I'm
now,
so glad
I
you
am
made it.
really wondering why I came back.
Hey, Jim, you got a quarter?
I had one of those buttons. There's no big thrill.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think I ever pressed it.
Well, maybe not for you, but it depends on who's pressing it. You know. Oh,
I don't
man.
care about other people's thrills.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Reflect
tell
on
you
that.
what. Yeah, time to go. So let me throw the first one in, first article of the night. And tonight, it seems like we have quite a few articles that tread that dangerous territory of tech and politics. So we're going to be just a little bit careful. Marty's story really got to me.
Got choked up there. Over.
Yeah, really. You know, maybe I need a button. So this is from Fast Company. This is why Apple needs Tim Cook more than ever in the age of Trump. Talking about, and we talked about this last week, what Tim seems to have been able to do on Apple's behalf regarding the tariffs. And I want to compare and contrast that with, so you know, and we talked about it last week, and we praised Tim for everything he's been able to do for Apple. Today's Mac Voices is supported by Insta360 and their new Insta360 X5 flagship camera. Visit store.insta360.com and use the promo code MacVoices to get a free 114 centimeter invisible selfie stick worth $24.99 with a standard package purchase. Limit first 30 standard package purchases only. If you're an action camera enthusiast, you know that the best adventures don't wait for the perfect shot. And with the Insta360 X5, you don't have to. The Insta360 X5 is built for those who push limits. With flow state stabilization and 360-degree horizon lock, your footage stays buttery smooth no matter how intense the action gets, whether you're biking down a mountain trail, hitting the slopes, or chasing waves. And when the adventure takes you underwater, the X5 is ready. With IP68 waterproofing, you can dive up to 49 feet without a housing, or go as deep as 197 feet with the invisible dive case, all while keeping seamless 360-degree stitching for immersive underwater shots. Worried about wind noise ruining your epic moments? Don't be. The X5 features a built-in wind guard and advanced audio algorithms, so your sound is as sharp and clear as your video, no matter how fast you're moving. If you're serious about capturing every thrill from every angle, the Insta360 X5 is your ultimate adventure companion. And right now you can gear up with a bonus. Grab a free 114 centimeter invisible selfie stick, perfect for those impossible third-party shots, when you purchase the Insta360 X5 standard package. Just head to store.insta360.com and use the promo code MacVoices. Hurry, this offer is limited to the first 30 purchases. Again, that's store.insta360.com. Thanks to Insta360 for supporting Mac Voices. This edition of Mac Voices is supported by MacPaw, the makers of Clean My Mac, your ultimate solution for Mac control and care. Try Clean My Mac for 7 days free, then use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. Spring isn't just for cleaning your home. It's the perfect time to refresh your Mac, too. If your digital clutter has been piling up, let Clean My Mac help you kick off your spring cleaning the smart way. From MacPaw, experts in macOS software since 2008 and notarized by Apple, the all-new Clean My Mac transforms your Mac from sluggish and cluttered to sleek, secure, and efficient. It's more than just a cleanup tool. It's a complete care package for your digital workspace. With Smart Care, you can sweep away hidden junk, free up valuable space, and optimize performance, all in one click. The My Clutter feature clears out duplicate downloads, while Cleanup tackles system cache and unnecessary files that have been quietly piling up all winter long. And spring cleaning isn't just about tidiness, it's about safety too. The built-in Moonlock anti-malware engine scans for viruses and threats, keeping your Mac secure as you start fresh. Plus, the Assistant and Menu app offers helpful tips to prevent common issues like battery drain and overheating, so your Mac stays as refreshed as your workspace. If your Mac is a little overdue for a little TLC, now's the time. Keep your Mac tidy with Clean My Mac. Start your digital spring cleaning with a free 7-day trial and use the code MacVoices20 for 20% off at cleanmy.com/MacVoices. That's CLNMY.com/MacVoices. Clear out the clutter and let your Mac breathe this spring with Clean My Mac. Thanks to Clean My Mac for supporting MacVoices. Compare this to this, which is Tim Cook pressured for details on how Apple obtained Trump tariff exemptions. And of course, one of the people asking the questions is Elizabeth Warren. Now, I'll let my politics show just a little bit. I'm not a fan of Elizabeth Warren, not party affiliated or anything, but because of her constant attacks on business and business people. So in one magazine or one website, we have somebody saying, Apple needs Tim Cook right now. And then another website has an article that's questioning, there's an implication there that Tim did something wrong or questionable in order to get the tariff exemptions. Discuss.
Chuck, do you need to check your watch?
There are times, Marty, because it seems like that any time that anybody does anything for the benefit of their company, that they are questioned, and especially when that company is Apple. So I don't know. Eric, you look like you have thoughts.
Well, kind of. I mean, this is a case where I think Elizabeth Warren is actually correct. There's a $1 million donation. It's not, donations are made all the time by companies to people, but there seems to have been an implied make a donation, something else might happen, so on. Of course, if you read the other article, you get he's the only one who reached out and called personally. He didn't have a staff do it. He didn't have somebody else do it. There's a direct personal connection. That's a skill set. The fact that the $1 million donation was made by Cook and not made by Apple, I think, is significant. At some point, that might come back to bite, as well as in a bunch of other cases where money changed hands that it maybe shouldn't have in the way that it did. It's a little too close to the quid pro quo kind of thing. I think doing it the way it was done was also a skill set. Cook has always said they know what the succession pattern is going to be. He's really important right now, but in the event something comes back and the fact that a bunch of money changed hands becomes a problem, it's attached to Cook, not attached to Apple, and he can walk away and still be one of the most skilled CEOs out there.
Webb, you have any thoughts? Oh, sorry.
Someone go ahead.
Jim, you were going.
I just like moments ago, I was standing in a checkout line reading my RSS feed, and there was news that Trump is, I just read this like 20 minutes ago, but I guess he's cutting tariffs on the auto industry in some way. So, I don't know. Is Tim Cook and Apple a special case? I'm not so sure. I mean, everything is just chaotic. Does that mean Tim Cook didn't do anything? No, I'm not saying that, but all the other CEOs are trying to do things for their businesses, and things are going up and down, and nobody knows. And I don't see how we can even have this topic, though, because it's completely political. And the answer to your first question, was something wrong done? Yes. Everything that's going on, we've got 225 people going to the White House because they bought mythical, zero value meme coins. So it's wrong. Everything about this whole thing is wrong all the way down.
To be clear, Jim, I was referring to what Tim did, whatever he did, and that's the part I think that bothers me, is that we don't know what was said, or not said, or asked for, or not asked for. There's just an implication, and the idea that I like Eric's interpretation of it, that Tim was the one that reached out. Everybody else seems to be, and I keep looking at it through the fiduciary lens, that Tim has a responsibility to Apple, and so he's trying to do the best job for them that he can, and naturally that's going to benefit us as Apple users. Barry, though, brought up a good point in the chat room, that don't the tariff exemptions cover all computers, smartphones, and other electronics, not just Apple equipment?
Yeah.
And so, was Tim the tip of the spear that got it done? Did it benefit Apple? Yeah, absolutely. But it also benefited every other hardware maker out there. Web, you were on deck.
Oh.
I'm going to take what may be, compared to a lot of people on this panel, a contrarian view. I heard a speaker when I was at a industry event back in January, and we were talking about Tim Cook, and said something that I thought was really interesting, and it's something that I truly believe in, and I think it's true. And I'll use this analogy. Tim Cook realized a long time ago, whether it's in his own personal position or that of the CEO of Apple Inc., he realized it's better to be at the table than to be on the menu. And I think that's exactly what's happening. Tim Cook is advocating for his company. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what his shareholders want him to do. He's paid rather handsomely to do that as well. Do I think that he bought influence? We could argue either side of that. I don't think he's bought any more influence than anything else that's gone on in Washington, D.C. for the last 200 years. I think everyone has tried to get access in one way or another, whether it's through donations or whatever. But anyway, I think Tim is doing a very interesting thing, is that from what I know about Tim, and I really don't know him personally, but I think that there are a lot of things that he does not agree with the current administration. But that's not the point here. The point is he's advocating for his company, which is what he's paid to do. And I think that's fine. I think there are a lot of podcasts that I've listened to that take the contrarian view on that very thing. I got my own shareholders, and I got to advocate for them. I got to make sure that I do things that enhance their value. There, I'll get off of it right now. But I think what Tim did was he advocated for his company. He did his job.
Okay. Marty.
Yeah, I think this is part of Elizabeth Warren's branding. I mean, this is the kind of things that she goes after. And I thought, well, why Tim? Why not the other 4 or 5 guys who contributed lots of money and bending into Trump's ears in a lot of ways? Why cover only Tim on this? And it's a 9to5 Mac article. So, I mean, the interest is with Tim. It's not with necessarily other tech companies or tech folks who have paid the amount or even more in terms of the relationship with the current president. So I I think it's a combination of what she likes to do and a combination, and I agree that with a lot of what Webb's doing or Webb's saying that he's protecting his brand and she's performing hers.
Dave, you're the only one we haven't heard from.
Well, Tim Apple, as Trump called him, I think Tim's a smart businessman. He knows the ins and outs of the ecosystem, and he's done it for many other companies prior to Apple, and so he knows how to play that game and have to work with the president to put these tariffs to the side here, and tell and commit to the fact that we're going to do a lot of this stuff here, but the president has to understand you can't just move the iPhone production to the U.S. I mean, it just is not something that can happen. And I like the fact that they're looking at another place, which is India, and they may move production within the next year. So at least Apple's being forward thinking, and Tim Cook as well, to think, okay, maybe we need to start weaning our way away from the dependence on China and move it into India. So I think all in all, I mean, Tim knows the supply chain processes. He's done really great things in the past, and this is what he does.
One thing that jumps out at me personally, Webb, you were talking about personal experiences. My personal experience, and it just happened again last week, that if somebody reaches out over email and they need some help on something, and I'll pick up the phone and give them a call, and every time I do, they seem shocked that somebody didn't just email back, that somebody actually picked up the phone and, God forbid, wants to talk about something, as opposed to, trade 5 emails. And I think that's
shocked
another. At what?
That you did that.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be kind of a dying thing. And, so and text and email are great, but they aren't the end all be all. And a lot of times a 3-minute phone call can save massive numbers of texts and emails. And so, I think that's kind of what Tim does, is he makes his approach a little more personal. And in a world that has become so impersonal, it really stands out. But I love the fact that we had multiple different opinions here. That's what these kind of discussions are all about. So, good job. So, just to keep the ball rolling a little bit, though, so this is from The Verge, that Apple and Meta hit with the EU's first DMA antitrust fines. And right on top of that, Mac Rumors reports that the White House hits back on Apple's massive EU fine. Thoughts?
Yeah.
They'll never pay it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It'll never get paid. It's more of the EU doing some muscle flexing, and it'll be tied up in litigation for a long time. It'll probably come down to a settlement of some kind, and Apple will pay significantly less than this, and it'll just go away. Now, the whole DMA issue itself still needs to be resolved, but yeah, for the, what was it, 500 million euro, will never happen.
Well,
and I've been wrong before.
Well, there've been some other articles out there that say that the fine was lightened up quite a bit because of the concerns over pushback by the White House. Who knows? But to me, the thing is, because we talked about this long before, any of this came to light, that it seems like the EU seems to be looking at ways, just finding ways to fine Apple. And I think that earlier this week, or maybe it was late last week, I lose track, that, Apple at one point had said that they're trying to work with the EU to satisfy certain things, and the EU keeps moving the goalpost. And oh yeah, by the way, posting fines along the way. And it just smells like, kind of the reverse of what we were just talking about with the influence in the White House. But it feels like that they've targeted, especially the tech companies, because that's where the money is, to pay these crazy fines based on their global sales. And they want to find somebody for something in their own country, based on the sales in their country. I think that, okay, that may have some merit, but this thing about global fines is just out of control. And I hope the White House does push back on some of this, not just because it's Apple, but for any company that is being hit with globally calculated fines. It just doesn't seem right. Eric, any comments on that?
There's so much of this stuff that just isn't clear. I mean, they do fines, they restate what they're kind of looking for, but there aren't really good examples of exactly how you're supposed to go about it. And then there's another round of fines, and then there's an appeal. And yeah, I guess I don't understand the point. And if they really are trying to accomplish something, it seems like there could be a lot more clarity. I'm not sure they even know what they're asking for anymore, other than we want to fine you.
I think they're taking cues from Elizabeth Warren. Marty?
These articles are, I think, affecting my AFib. It's just a constant stream. And of course, when I'm on Reddit, I'm scrolling through this stuff, but this is typical schoolyard appendage swinging. It's like kids playing and trying to show their bravado in some way. And, the EU showing their bravado, and then people are coming back. And then, of course, our president won't let anybody get in this engagement. So, the White House throws their bravado in. But it's just a bunch of adolescent appendage swinging.
Okay. I can't. How do you disagree with that based on some of the comments in these articles and others? But I also think that there's, the old thing of follow the money. And it just seems like this is a very obvious case of following the money. And it just doesn't quite seem right to force Apple to do things that they've invested money and research in that is to the detriment of their customers and maybe to the benefit of a small group, but overall reduces services, reduces security, reduces privacy, all those kind of things, just because in some cases, a couple people said, well, I can't compete with the big guys, so you should come in and help me. I didn't think that was exactly what government was for. Who knows? Before we leave this, I missed this earlier. I'm sorry. To go back to the whole White House thing, Barry in the chat room said, to paraphrase Captain Spock, only Cook could go to Trump. Nicely done, Barry. Nicely done. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.